Do you want to know what someone does when they build multiple real estate offices from scratch? That is exactly what David Culen did, and we're going to talk to him tonight in 10-minute labs. David, how you feeling, man?
Hey, I'm feeling great. Thanks, Jesse, for having me on.
Yeah, it's Friday night, and people are in the East Coast watching this. It's like, it's already like the way end of the day, but people who are watching,
I'm wondering about that. I got the late slot. I have to work my way up to prime time.
Well, this is 10-minute labs is always 5 o'clock California, but on Friday, 5 o'clock at night, it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. So, all right, for those of you who don't know David has built, am I right? You've built 6 Keller Williams offices from scratch, correct?
I've been involved in 6. Yep, I built 2 from scratch and was involved in a turnaround someone else had built, and then hired somebody to do 2 others.
Wow. So David's seen things in the industry, and he comes at it from a different perspective than a lot of the other guests we've had here. So I've told him before, look, he can make his comments about what agents should be doing, what business owners should be doing, what leaders, pretty much free form. I'd say let's just set a timer and jump in. You good?
Let's go.
All right, Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
There we go. We are on. So let's dive right in. All right, David, what keeps you awake at night?
What keeps me awake at night is just perpetually raising the bar and making sure that our firms are staying ahead of the curve in terms of what we're talking about, what we're focused on, and what we're teaching to the agents that work within the organization or the leaders that we're developing.
I love it. And how do you do so that's the definition of raising the bar. How do you do that on a regular basis?
Watch a lot of things like what we're doing today. Make good friends with people like yourself and Tristan. Read a lot. And in years past, I did a lot of interviewing. And quite frankly, I thought it was a good way to create a platform so other agents in the office could hear from top talented people because everybody's so busy. It offered me a great way to ask questions to the smartest people in the business. And so I got to learn. And quite frankly, I think it was great for retention because who doesn't like to get their ego stroked and sit on a couch and let everybody listen to them for an hour and a half?
I love it. And there's a book by a guy named Dave Asprey. Do you know who Dave Asprey is, the Bulletproof Coffee guy?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So he wrote a book. He did like 4,000 podcast interviews, and he put them all together in a book. It's a fantastic book called Game Changers. Did you ever take any of the wisdom? Like if you did all those interviews, have you compiled the wisdom from all those agents into any format that people can consume?
Over the years, I would do it in notes. So I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of notes, maybe more. Maybe it's thousands at this point. And I would put them into I used Evernote, and then I would reread them, and then I would add to them or I would share them. And when I got called this week to do this, all I had to do was go to my Evernote and pull up some stuff and figure, okay, well, depending on the questions Jesse's going to ask, I'll be able to go right to that. I have my phone sitting here and I could pull that up, refresh my memory. And you add to it over time, and I would take that information, then I would teach a course, and in the old days it would be a physical notebook, and I would have all that information in the course. And most of the time the greatest content came from the audience members and the people asking the question, because then I would gain a different perspective on the topic, and then I would take those notes and then I would add it into that material.
I love it. And by the way, you already have fans watching. Sheila says, Dave's a rock star leader. Look at that. Look at that, man. I'm assuming.
Well, he's amazing.
Okay. I was hoping you know Sheila. All right, cool. So let's keep rocking and rolling. In the world of real estate, what do you obsess over?
Lead generation.
Okay. So what's your latest obsession with lead generation then? In what way?
Well, in my latest obsession, now that I became a part of this new title company that we started, it's going to be reaching out and contacting the people that I already know or don't know, and seeing how I can add value and earn their business.
I love it. So what do you, in terms of earning the business, what do you think is the biggest opportunity for realtors between now and the end of the year?
I think that, well, there's a couple of stats. I don't know if you were on the Keeping Current Matters economic overview, and I think there's a couple of challenges that people are facing, whether you're in the commercial space. I just had a link conversation with a top producer who sells a lot of multifamily, and there's deals falling apart in his business based on financing, and there's other people that are on will give you an objection like, well, we're going to wait and see. And some of it's legitimate, based on the stats that I heard, because we're on an election year and you'll see like a 10% decline in business in some cases. However, that business doesn't evaporate, it's just delayed. So I would say it's just the keeping things simple, if you will, is just setting a number for yourself to contact people each day and just keep doing it, and don't get married to the process or the outcome of it or the rejection that you might face. Just get married to that process. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon.
And I'm typing that up on the screen for you. I think you said business doesn't evaporate, it's just delayed, correct? Was that the quote?
Yep.
I love it. It's you're so spot on. So what for you and your business, and what's been your biggest challenges during COVID and everything else?
Personally, and from the people I know, I think it's keeping the energy and keeping the mindset. If you're driven or fueled by connectivity with other people, and I happen to have a lady who I go see that does. She's brilliantly amazing. She does body work, anything from like neuromuscular therapy to cradle sacrum, and she's a big energy focused person. And she had this chart on her wall, and I was thinking, if I had it to do all over again today, I would have taken that picture of that chart. I would have had you post it up here, and we would have talked about it, because according to her and the statistics, so many of the people are literally like one event or two events away from like exploding in terms of being frustrated and stress and anxiety, and it can be it can defeat a lot of people. And one of the things we talked about is how do you move from there to a place of courage. And I asked her, I said, well, what's an example that you can give me as it relates to that with one of your clients? And she said, look, if the client is challenged by going out and doing physical activity, and they finally get into the habit of taking a walk, the difference between taking that walk and moving into courage would be add a hill to your walk. It could be something that simple. So I think the message there is are we challenging ourselves enough? Are we using this time to add some form of challenge to get us in a better mental state?
I love it. So what's been your challenge?
I'm just not seeing as many people as I used to see physically. I love coming into the office. I get a thrill off of the buzz of
Yep.
all of the people, and watching every conference room be packed, people on the phones, that kind of activity. I love that environment.
You're telling me doing 15 Zooms a day doesn't cut it for you?
No.
Fair enough.
Maybe that's why I'm having to see that gal in the first place. My neck's so tight from doing this all day. To go to the therapy.
And I love the idea of the energy and like taking that side, the Eastern thought process to it. Do you ever apply that to agents in terms of when you're dealing with them, or is it kind of a separate world for you at this point?
No, I absolutely do. And I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, well, what if he asked me how long have I been in the business? Maybe I should do some math real quick. And then I was, thinking about what I did prior to real estate, and I was a therapeutic nutritionist and trained a bunch of different type of clients. And so, quite frankly, the leadership aspect of being somebody who trains, coaches, and consults and holds people accountable, it's the same exact thing. All I did was switch industries back in 2002. So I'm 18 years in the real estate business, and I was 7 years in that business. So I think there's just a lot of direct parallels.
Interesting. So let's break down coaching versus training, because you just threw out two different words that I've been obsessed with myself lately. Mm-hmm. You are both a coach and a trainer, you said, correct?
Correct.
Which one do you consciously shift between one and the other, and how do you define the difference between those two?
Yeah, because I'll give you an example. So sometimes, let's say I'm training somebody, and training might be, say, okay, here's a list of 14 things that you need to do in your business, and let's think with the end in mind. So, and I have that list. Number 14 would be leading and managing a sales team, and number 13 is recruiting and hiring salespeople. And as I'm in that consultation environment with that person, especially if it's one-on-one, much easier to pick that out. You can tell by their body language, the questions they're asking, the hesitation. Okay, now is this a time to shift from the list of 14 items and shift to some sort of consulting, where now I'm asking questions to figure out where their sticky point is? Because my goal is for them to give them enough, but not too much, so that they can actually leave that meeting and then implement, because I know that people are not motivated by either of those things that we're talking about immediately, because what they really want is the result, but the result comes down the road. It's a delayed effect. So they're only motivated by what I'm talking about or watching this 10-minute video for a few minutes, but it's going to wear off by Monday. What we need to do is we need to get them to take some action to see a result, because that's what they're looking for. And then the result creates the motivation to want to do it again.
I love it. I love it. All right, we've got less than a minute left. You said you're a big reader, so I'd love to know best book you've read in the last 12 months. Anything jump out at you?
You know what? I should have turned the camera the way. There's so many of them behind me. It's the best one.
Or anyone that jumps out at you?
You know what I would have to say is I would go to Jack Canfield, Success Principles.
Ooh.
And that's a big, fat, lengthy one. I think it's 67 chapters long. And I used to lead a session at 8:30 in the morning. I think I did it for 44 weeks in a row. And I did that selfishly because I embraced the saying or quote that says the teacher learns the most.
I love it. That is our 10-minute timer. And I'm glad I asked that because I've never read that book.
That's a good one.
I love it.
Jay.
David, that was perfect. That was 10-minute lab.
Thank you very much.
That was 10-minute labs. LCA Elements is the behind the show. So, dude, just thanks for being here. Friday night, right? You're gonna go hang with your kids now?
I'm waiting for them to come home. They're on a run.
Really? Okay.
That's what a little running group.
See, that's what happens when your kids get older, right? We were talking about that. My kids are younger. Your kids are at the age they can go on and run by themselves.
You know what? Run with them now. You'll be able to keep up with them.
I love it. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Enjoy your Friday.
All right, guys.